Hello, everyone. Welcome to this event. We are officially started. I would encourage you to invite your friends and remind them. We have lots of people who have registered. So please remind them to join the event before we get very far into it. So I'm your host, Oluleke Babayomi, and we have outstanding speakers who are lined up to impact us today. This event was organized by Dual UN Network, a collaborative platform founded by experts in China. And the purpose is to empower students and professionals with beneficial information, academics, career, and for social impact. So we encourage you to follow us on LinkedIn. We're going to share our LinkedIn page address so you can follow us so that I can have updates on our future events. I'd also like to let you know that we have just this academic year, that is starting this fall, we began an academic group on WeChat. So it's a mentoring platform for our students. Further information will be provided to you later, but we encourage you to scan this WeChat code and join. There are several benefits to joining. We're going to provide you free light touch edits for 2 academic papers every year. You can also attend our future seminars because we have more specialized seminars to be delivered by more renowned experts in the near future. You can also enjoy free counseling on academic matters with mentors. So more information will be provided in a short while. But just to continue this event, our next speaker would be Dr. Roland N'drin. He's an economist by profession, and he's going to be talking on the topic, common mistakes that Ph.D. and master students make and how to avoid them. Common mistakes that students make and how to avoid them. So, Dr. Roland, it's your turn to speak now. You can share your screen. I'll share your screen from your end. Thank you. Yes, we can see you.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, yeah, thank you. And yeah, give me a minute. I will share. I have 15 minutes, right? Yeah.
That's right, doctor.
Okay. Can see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Yeah,
But
thank you.
Great. You just done perfectly now.
Okay. Yeah. And yeah, thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you to the host, Dr. Oluleke, for inviting me. And yeah, my name is Roland N'drin, and yeah, I've been honored to share tonight on common mistakes that masters and PhD students make in China and how to avoid them. And yeah, and we will share some practicals like tricks so that master and PhD students will avoid to not fall on these traps and to have like a successful graduate studies. Yeah, and yeah, let's give a brief introduction of myself and my background. And yeah, because the time is short, I will not take a lot of time on sharing too much about me. But yeah, I'm from Cote d'Ivoire, and yeah, it's a different country. And I have a bachelor. I got my senior high school baccalaureate, my senior high school degree in science and technology from a scientific school of Cote d'Ivoire. And yeah, after that, my passion for the economics field made me study economics, and I got a bachelor from University Félix Houphouët-Boigny and a master's degree in economic policy and modeling. And after that, I joined a research institute as a research assistant, where I worked as research assistant. And later I came to China for my PhD study here. And by the grace of God, I graduated just last semester on June 2023. And yeah, and also during my PhD studies, I've been able to contribute to the fields of economics and sustainability. And I also published some high quality papers in renowned international journals. And I also won some prizes, like the third prize of the 2021 student paper competition, and organized by my institute, the Center of Economic Research, Shandong University. And I also won the first prize of the prize Professor Konare Aboudraman, the prize of the best young researcher, awarded by the Swiss Center of Scientific Research in Cote d'Ivoire. It was in May 2021, and it was during the International Science and Technology Fortnight opening ceremony. And yeah, and outside of academia, I've been also engaged during my PhD study in China. I've been engaged in community like activities such as there's a lot of things I did, but I selected just this one. I've been the president of the African Union student of my university from 2021, February 2021 to June 2023. And yeah, these are a few pictures from the wonderful time we used to have with our African fellow. Yeah. And yes, okay. And now I am a postdoctoral researcher fellow at the Institute of Blue and Green Development of Shandong University. And yeah, let's go straight to a brief introduction on what we will talk about today. Is our today's meeting is about excelling in graduate studies, and yeah, excelling in graduate studies. Why do we need to be excellent in graduate studies? It's very important to be excellent in graduate studies. Why? Because I just listed a few of few points here. Of course, they are not all like the point, but just for this webinar, I just listed a few. The first one I listed is career and advancement. Yeah, as a graduate student, it's good to excel in our studies because it will open opportunity for personal growth, for intellectual development and self-discovery. And also we can become an expert in our field. And after our graduate study, like if we work and gain a lot of knowledge in our field, we can become an expert in a specific field or area related to, depending on your research background or your research program. And yeah, and also we can contribute to knowledge. We can contribute to knowledge by being engaged in original research. And yeah, by our research fundings, we can also contribute to the knowledge in your specific field. For me, it's economics, and I'm specialized in sustainable development. And during my PhD study, I developed a few methods to measure sustainability. Yeah, and this is a very crucial question for the United Nations, because we all talk about sustainable development, but we don't know how to measure it. It's very difficult. And during my PhD study, I developed some methods to measure sustainable development, and I apply my method in African countries. And yeah, the next point is we can like build a networking and collaboration. You can build like a network and collaboration, and with your professor, with your fellow student, and this can be helpful like for your future careers. And yeah, and also you can after your study in a foreign country like such as China, you will be exposed to a different culture and perspective. Yeah, because here in China, as a graduate student, we meet people from Europe, from South America, from Australia, from Asia, and it's good to and like to like have all this connection and experience while you are doing your graduate studies. And yeah, and also it can also open for you some leadership opportunities, and yeah, it can lead to leadership roles, influencing policy, and yeah, things like that. And also you can become let's say a global citizen, because you as an expert in your field will be able to solve issues for countries, not only in your country or maybe in China, but in other places in the world. Yeah. And the roadmap of my presentation will be I will first talk about the appeal of graduate studies in China. And in the next point, I will talk about common mistake that master and PhD students make in China. And I used a lot of time to prepare this PPT, but I think I will mostly share mostly my experience and what I have like what I've observed and I learned from my PhD journey, during my PhD journey here in China. And yeah, what is the benefit of pursuing a master and PhD study in China? And we all know that China have a lot of good universities who have like the university which are like have like world like they have like world ranking, such as Peking universities and other universities. Even the university where I graduated, Shanghai University, is also a very good university. And China have access to cutting edge technology and resources that as international students we can enjoy working in labs, in like doing our research. Yeah, a lot of resources are available here in China to have a successful study and doing your master or PhD and studies here in China. And tuition fees are very, I can say, affordable compared to Western countries. And yeah, emerging global leaders in various fields. In China also, there is a diverse culture and educational opportunities, as I shared previously, and we have the chance to learn the Chinese language, to be exposed to a rich cultural heritage and tradition. And yeah, in China have also a variety of academic programs, and you can learn from and like you can learn like whatever you want. Maybe some fields that are not available in your home country, especially for those coming from African countries. Yeah, and emphasize on global perspective. Yeah, China is a growing international influence, and there's also a lot of opportunity to understand and engage with different global views. And yeah, it's also good to study in China because it will help you to prepare for a career in a globalized world. And what are the common mistakes or pitfalls like students encountered during their master or PhD studies? And mostly, I listed just few of them. I selected the one that I found is important. Some people neglect the importance of the language, especially the Chinese language. And I also listed inadequate preparation before being, like before coming to China to study, or even at the beginning of the study. And many students isolate themselves from social and academic network, and there's also misunderstanding the academic culture and expectation here in China, and falling to size research opportunities and struggling with time engagement and study skills. Okay, let's go to the first mistake, which is neglecting language proficiency. And yeah, I want to share my personal experience. And yeah, coming from a French-speaking country, even though you learn English before coming to China, if your program is in English, but you need to also be able to write in English and publish papers in English. And I know that many international students are coming from like Arabic countries, from French-speaking countries, from countries that don't use maybe English as the first language, and it's sometimes like very difficult to write like your research paper if you don't work on improving your language proficiency. And this is for English, and mostly for master and PhD students who need to write like a paper. And also good because it will help you to have like a better communication with your classmate and your supervisor if he's able to speak also good English. And then the second point is about the Chinese language. You have the opportunity to learn like the Mandarin, the Chinese language here. But if you neglect the Chinese language, it will be difficult for you to communicate as well, especially in your like your daily communication, and also with your like your Chinese classmate, because you will not be able. Most of the Chinese students can understand English, but it's also difficult for them to understand and communicate. And it's good for us to be able to like learn the language and be able to speak with them, because we can learn a lot from them. And yeah, from my experience, like when I came to China, even though I was quite maybe in the average level in English speaking, but I got close to most of like the students coming from English speaking countries to improve my English level, so that I can be able to speak and fluently, and also write my research paper. Even though there's a lot of AI tools that now can be used. I encourage a master and PhD student to use AI tools to work in the research. And yeah, if you like improve your language proficiency while being here, you can avoid some miscommunication and misunderstanding, as I said previously, especially between you and your supervisor if he doesn't speak like English, and also with your fellow Chinese classmate. And yeah, here I listed few apps like can be used to maybe learn English or improve your, sorry, your Chinese. And these are the two I used mostly in the Pleco and the anti-Chinese dictionary. Yeah. And the second mistake is inadequate preparation. yeah, inadequate preparation could be taken in the both sides, like before coming to China or while you just arrived in China for your master or PhD study. And for those who still plan to, or like plan to come to study in China for a master or a PhD program, I encourage you to try to get like some funding or some scholarship, because it will make you like avoid financial constraint. As we all know, being master or PhD student require a lot of time. And if you are not financially independent, it will affect your research, because it will be difficult for you to like have to be free in your mind to study and achieve good result. And also, I've talked about academic program and requirement. You also need to know and what are the requirements of your school to graduate. And yeah, and you should ask your the teacher in charge of international student, like what is the requirement for me as an international student to get my degree, so that you can prepare on time. And yeah, student advisor relationship is very important to have a positive relationship between you and your supervisor. We discuss it in details in the coming slide, and also research proposal for those who have the chance to, maybe before coming to China, get in touch with your advisor. You can start having preparing your research proposal, and it will help you like have the advantage of the time while working on your research. But most importantly, don't hide yourself, don't isolate yourself, sorry, in while doing your research, but discuss first your research idea with your supervisor, because he's the one who will have to approve if your research is good or not, because your final defense depends on the approval of your supervisor. Yeah. The mistake number 3 is isolating yourself. I just talked about it in previously. It's important to have, I put it in red here, relationship, student advisor or student supervisor is very important, because a good connection with an advisor can provide you a critical guidance, support, and mentorship in your academic journey. And in this point, I want to advise my like fellow, maybe like international student. I say fellow because yeah, I was also there as an international student just few months before. Please try to get a good connection between you and your supervisor. Don't isolate yourself from your supervisor. And yeah, for everything you want to do, talk with your supervisor first and agree with him. Because what most students don't know, master and PhD don't know, a supervisor he have like a lot of research idea or research funding, but he need a student who can help him to work on his research. And if you don't collaborate with him, you don't show that you want to be connected with him and you want to isolate yourself and do your own things, you will be alone in your research. And it's better for you to do what your supervisor wants you to do, so that he will help you in doing that. And this is to share my experience. When I was coming to China, I have a research proposal that I wrote by myself, because before coming to China for my PhD, I have already started a PhD in my country before applying for the scholarship to come here. And when I came, I was in the second year of PhD in my country, and then I came here to do it again. But when I came, I have my research idea, proposal, and everything. But my supervisor asked me to do something completely different from what I was doing back home. And I talked to a few of my countrymates, and they explained me how things work here in China. And I just forgot like what I was doing, and I follow what my supervisor is doing. But what was very impressive is he helped me in this field. He gave me a lot of readings, papers, books to improve my research. Even he helped me in some very critical method, and I learned a lot while working with him. And I will encourage all graduate students to not miss this point. Yeah, try to be in very good relationship with your supervisor, because he is the one who will help you, and your final defense depends on him. Yeah, misunderstanding of the academic culture. And yeah, and here in China, the academic culture is teacher-centered, which is different from the Western culture, which is student-centered. Yeah, we should know that here in China, your teacher or your supervisor is, I can say, is playing a central role. You don't need to hide yourself from him. You need to get close to him. Yeah, your supervisor knows that you don't have a lot of knowledge, so don't try to hide yourself and go far from him, but show him your weakness. Okay, teacher, I don't know this, I don't know that, I don't know how to write. Show him like you don't know, and he will help you. It's very important. And yeah, and also the expectation here in China generally are very high in terms of academic achievement. Yeah, so we should also know that, so that we won't work and be lazy to not achieve and what like the supervisor is expecting from us as his student. Ignoring future research opportunities. Yeah, one of the mistakes on graduate students is like they ignore that after the study, we can have a lot of opportunities. So that's why it's very important to like work very hard and be excellent in your studies, because if you have like good publications, it can help you to get like better opportunities. For master students who want to maybe do a PhD like after the master, is good to like have publications, and it's also sometimes required by some of the schools and universities for a PhD, for a master student to have like one paper, and for a PhD student to have one or two papers published in SCI or SSCI journal. And it's very important to manage your time to fulfill this requirement. And one advice I want to give to master or PhD student, please, when you start your research, start working on your publication first. Don't work on your thesis or dissertation. Start collecting your data and run your statistical analysis or your regression, and start writing your paper like the one you want to publish, and submit it to a journal before you start thinking on writing your dissertation or your thesis. Yeah, because the requirement is very important. Don't miss this point. Manage your time well, discuss with your supervisor, have a good connection with him. This is what helped me, because to give my example, I work with a supervisor, and we just work on papers. We submitted 3 papers in SCI journal, 2 have been published, and the last one was under review. And it took me less than 6 months to write my dissertation, my whole dissertation, because I used the information I already have, and I combined all of them to write my final book and go to the defense. Yeah, because you can have your final document, but if your paper is not published, if it's a requirement at your school, you won't graduate. So it's very important to fulfill all these things. Yeah. And to conclude, I would like to to read this summary I will put here in conclusion. We have explored vital insight on excelling in graduate study in China. We have delved into avoiding common pitfalls, embracing cultural, academic culture, harnessing research opportunities, and mastering time management. It is clear that success demands preparation, adaptability, and diligence. As you embark in your academic journey in China, remember the significance of avoiding these common mistakes, especially as I talk about the relationship between you and your supervisor is very important, and making the most of the abundant opportunities before you. Your time as a graduate student can be transformative and impactful both academically and personally. We encourage you to take this lesson to heart. Set ambition goals, strive for excellence in your pursuit. With the right mindset and dedication, your graduate studies in China can be an enriching and rewarding experience. Yeah, I would like to thank Mr. Dr. Oluleke for giving me this opportunity to share this on this topic and also a few of my personal experience. Yeah, and thank you. And this is my email for those who have further questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And Dr. Roland is still around because we're going to have questions and answers. So he's still around to answer your questions if you have questions. So let me just share my screen right now, then we'll introduce the next speaker. So thank you once again, Dr. Roland, for sharing those. And one of the things I will just emphasize, as someone also passed through the Chinese system, is that the relationship with your supervisor can make or break you. If that thing is just not right, if the communication gap is there, there's nothing you can do. It's going to be very difficult. Few people can do it by themselves, but it's very important if you can get the supervisor thing right. I believe you're right. Your doctoral or master's program would actually be easier. So we'll come to that during the questions and answers. So the next speaker would be Dr. Patrice Monkam from Tsinghua University. He did his PhD in control science and engineering. And there's something interesting about his background. He went to several universities in China before getting his terminal degree from Tsinghua. He also has multiple specialties. I think he's going to talk more about that during his speech. So, Dr. Monkam, it's your turn now to talk on how I made it during master's and PhD studies in China.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Oluleke, and allow me to share my screen, please.
Yes, please.
Okay. Can you see it, please?
Yes, it's clear.
Okay. So
maximize it. Okay, great. Okay, it's perfect now.
Yeah. Distinguished guests, fellow student, researcher, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I'm Patrice Monkam from Cameroon. I'm currently an assistant professor at the Department of Medicine and Biological Information Engineering at Northeastern University. That is in China, in Liaoning Province, Shenyang City. And I would like to thank the organizing committee of this webinar for inviting me and for giving me the opportunity to share with you guys some of the things I've been through since I've been in China. And here is my email and WhatsApp for people that would like to get in touch later on. So today's sharing will be based on 4 main points, including self-confidence and self-identity. And then we talk about the power of your mindset, and then some important characteristics to develop in your life or even in your academic life or social life. And then I will talk about networking. And then after that, I will also give some key points from my own experiences. So let's start by the first one, which is the self-confidence and self-identity. You know, because when you are coming to China as a foreigner, I think it's very, very important to know yourself, know who you are. And it's also important for you what we call the self-awareness. You should be able to realize that you are different from other people around you. You know, what I mean here is that it shouldn't be strange for you to encounter some things like cultural shock, or maybe discrimination or language barrier, because it's just natural. You're coming from somewhere else. And another thing that is important for you to know is that you were selected among many other candidates. I don't know about you guys, but most of the universities that I've been to here in China, we had to go through so many rounds of interviews, or even when you submit your document for admission, not everybody is accepted. So it's important for you first, before everything, to know that you were selected among many other candidates, which means that you know something and you are better than other people. And I'm coming to the point of knowing yourself is only when you know what you are capable of that you can be able to overcome some of the challenges you'll be meeting on your way. Because when you don't know yourself, whatever that people will be telling you, my son's face is right, as if that is the way you are, it becomes very difficult for you to really find yourself in an environment whereby people define you based on the preconceived ideas that they have about you. So actually, self-identity, self-confidence, and emphasizing on self-confidence is, whatever that your mind wants, your body can do it. So if you don't believe in yourself, nobody else will believe in yourself. Because there are some cases whereby it's up to you to tell people what you can do, what you are capable of. Because I remember one day there was one expert that said that, especially for PhD students, that if you pretend really to be a PhD student, you must be able to teach your supervisor at least 2 things before graduating. I'm saying this just to get back to what I mean by, do you believe in yourself? So you must be able to defend the claims you are talking about when you are doing your research. Because if you don't even believe in yourself, you don't even believe in the things you are doing, then why would they believe in you? So this is self-confidence. Self-confidence and self-identity. These 2 things are very, very important. So this is what I wanted to share on this topic. And then the second point would be about, the power of your mindset. I would say most of the people here in China, sometimes we tend to fail, because I feel like it has to do with our mindset. I mean, who are you actually? And why are you here? What brought you into this place? And then what do you really want? They say, who are you? What brought you here? Where do you come from? And what do you really want for your life? Because there are many people don't really realize that the first beneficiary of your achievement is you, is yourself. Why will you complain about your supervisor if they are not trying to help you so much? Are you going to let them spoil your future just because they are not doing what they were supposed to do? So it has to do with the mindset. And also sometimes, as I said earlier, whatever that your mind wants, your body can stand it. And then whatever that is conceived from the inside can easily manifest itself on the outside. So if you want to succeed, you should be saying that to yourself every day. As you can see down here, I have a few points here. These are some of the things that I actually used through all my journey, especially during my PhD, because it was quite tougher than even master. Because every day you have to remind yourself that you are an overcomer. Otherwise, you won't make it, And it's also important for you to remind yourself every day that you are not a loser. Because this is what will help you keep going whenever you fall down. And of course, nothing good comes easily. If everything was to be easy, why wouldn't there be many people with that thing you are looking for? Especially for PhD. I don't know if you even know that according to the last statistics that I checked before, we have barely 30% of the world population. I can't remember, but it's less than 30% that actually have a PhD. And of course, we all know that the harder the battle, then the sweeter will be the victory. So this is what I'm trying to emphasize here regarding the power of your mindset, because you have to build it from the inside. And as the previous speaker mentioned, if you think that when you are here doing your master or your PhD, you are pleasing your supervisor, then it means that you don't know what you are doing here. Because If you don't graduate, I've known so many people who left this country after spending many years without a degree. And then it changed nothing on the supervisor. It changed nothing on that department or the university. So you should be able to really redefine and try to put down some answer to these 4 questions that are here, because these are the only thing that will help you carry on. Of course, as I said, we have to know that our mind is actually a very powerful thing, because whatever we give our mind will definitely manifest itself on the outside. So if you want your life to change, you should start from the inside with your mindset. And then I will talk now about some, important characteristics I think that we should develop. This actually, I'm using here academic success as one, but this could also apply to other aspects or maybe a new beginning in life. One of the first is humility. As even the previous speaker mentioned, it's okay to say to yourself, to even acknowledge that you lack some knowledge about certain things. Don't pretend as if you know everything and then people give you tasks, you delay them. Because it's okay if you tell your supervisor, sir or madam, I'm really sorry, I don't know this, I haven't done this before. Could you tell me how to do it? This is humility. And of course, it's okay for you. You should be able to speak to your peers. Say to a brother that, bro, you know what? I've not been sleeping well recently just because, there's this paper or I have this bug in my code, I cannot fix it. Be humble enough to speak about. Because don't think that you are going through something that people have never done before. So whatever you are going through now, there are people that have been there. And be humble enough to speak to a brother or a sister that will give you a piece of advice that may save you some time and give you more strength to carry on. And then the second one would be the courage. There are also some people that, this might not be about, ego or whatsoever, or they are proud. I wouldn't put it that way, but it's important to be courageous enough to seek help from others, because there are things that we can solve by ourselves, or if we want to do it by ourselves, it may take more time. So we should be courageous enough to seek help from others. And of course, when you are to seek help from people, you have to be patient, right? Because we all know that when people know that you depend on them, they may not be always kind to you when they are helping you. And this is just natural, because this sometimes may happen to each and every one of us. So you have to be patient and persistent. Because the same thing that if you are texting somebody for help and the person says, I'm busy today, you should be able to insist and say, okay, when can you be available to attend to me? I really need you. And you should be able to really wait on the person. And the same goes with your supervisor. When you are looking for your supervisor, you can't expect the supervisor to run after you. If it doesn't reply your message, then you will just be there. You won't try. You won't try to look for him again or wait for him. And finally, I will talk about discipline. I would say discipline is something that is, very, very important in everything we do. Because as an individual, in our daily life, we should have daily plan with some items. Of course, sometimes it might be difficult to fulfill them at 90%. But if we have a plan first, we can be encouraged to achieve at least 70 to 80% of it. So discipline is very, very important. You should have a daily plan, weekly plan, monthly plans. And then after that, you can even go to 3 months, because this helps you to track, your progress, especially with research work. Because when you begin with your research, you will spend about 6 months without finding any good solution. But actually, you'll be able to notice the method that are not suitable for your problem. And these things are part of the disciplinary plan that you put in place, because you are following them step by step. So this is what I wanted to share about these characteristics. And the other point is networking. Networking, especially not only in China, but in everything we do, we need to network with people. Your network is very, very important because information is key. What you may spend, days looking for, there might be someone right beside you that has that thing or that has been there before, and they can show you a shorter way to get to where you're heading to. And as a student, as a student, it's important for you to join some student organization and clubs to meet new people. And of course, it's important for you to participate in volunteer works, and because here I went to teach in some places, and through this kind of work, I was able to speak to some Chinese that were actually doing some research quite similar to mine. And based on the discussion we had, I was able to get new inspiration and new ideas to move on with my research work. And also this one here is sport. Sport through is something that can help you as you are trying to balance your academic life and social life. It also helps you to meet people, with the same hobbies. It means that when you are trying to relax, you can easily discuss about some study works that will actually contribute to your growth. So the same time you are relaxing, the same time you are actually working on your academic life. And of course, it's also very, very important to build good relationship with fellow students and researchers, especially with those that are in different fields. I would say my best friend while being at Tsinghua and most of the university are actually people that were from different departments. And we met through some volunteer works or sport activities or student clubs. So it's also very, very important. And your networking. Networking also helps you look for job in the future and also doing research, especially for those that are already a postdoc or assistant professor. You will see that you need to collaborate with people to be able to carry out some very good, meaningful research works. And that's how your networking comes in. So it's very, very important. And finally, I'll have to share with you some key points, from personal experiences. I would say be yourself and be kind to yourself. Don't pretend to be what you are not. Yeah, because you are unique. And it's okay if you have your own, we all have our own drawbacks and we have our own strengths. So just be yourself and see how you can leverage on your strength to overcome your drawbacks. And second point is avoid empty complaints. Instead of you saying that your supervisor is not doing this or that for you, ask yourself, what can I do so that he would change the way he's treating me? Yes, because actually a complainer is just an explainer of problems. But when there is already a problem, what we need more is solution. And one more thing is expect less from others and try your best to offer more to others. I would say this is sweet to say, but sometimes difficult to do. I would say that one of the, I would say funny, I wouldn't put it that way, but this actually works for me because what goes around comes around. I was able to get new ideas to move on in my research while helping my lab mate to revise their papers. And they were my lab mate. I did not even know. So through helping them to revise their paper, I could get new knowledge, and I could even borrow the code, the implementation from them to insert into my own work to move on with my research. So when in the beginning, you are expecting nothing and you are just trying to help, then you will end up getting even more than what you had thought. And of course, be aware that stereotype and discrimination do exist, you can expect a fellow Chinese to treat you as their fellow brother or sister. It's just normal, right? Because even you yourself, you don't love or you don't like everybody you see around you. So be aware that stereotype and discrimination do exist. And we have to learn to deal with them in a more appropriate and positive way. Because even within a group of people, even you from your countrymen, there are a set of people you like more than others, and this is natural. And another point is you should try to judge less and do not be quick to conclude and seek more to understand. Especially in China, people are extremely busy. Sometimes people may forget to reply to your messages. And this also happens to me several times, that sometimes if a message comes in, I read it, I don't reply at the moment, I may forget to reply. But if you judge and you are quick to conclude, you may end up thinking that this person doesn't want to help me or blah, 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 or any other things, but seek more to understand what might be going on with the person. And also, one more important thing is that don't think that, your case is the worst. Never. Because there's nothing you are going through that is entirely new. Other people may have been through before you. They were able to succeed. So remember that. Don't feel like, my case is the worst. No. Be positive and keep a really, really positive mindset while trying to find solutions to your problem. And finally, do not worry too much about what they say or think about you. Instead, focus more on improving yourself, becoming a better version of your yesterday. Because the only person who knows you is yourself. And whatever you do, nobody's perfect. So whatever you would do, either good or bad, people will have something to say about it. But make sure that you focus more on improving yourself to become a better version of your yesterday. So this is all I wanted to share with you. And, life is actually a journey and we keep on improving ourselves, trying our best. All I can say is that we all together have to hang in there and say to ourselves every day that we can do it, because really nothing good comes easily. So I'll just end here. Thank you.
Awesome. We can see that Dalfi Laoshi is a wonderful motivational speaker. Thank you so much for that. Dr. Victoria is on board already. Will just give us 1 minute to take an announcement. Thank you very much once again, Doctor. We appreciate that. Yes, we have a few announcements here, and I'll invite Bumi to please tell us the announcement.
Hello, everyone. I'm here to tell you about Joy Network. Joy Network is a collaborative platform founded by a team of experts residing in China. The sole purpose is to empower students and professionals with beneficial information and training for all-round excellence in academics, career, and social impact. So you can follow us on LinkedIn for more updates and future events. So that's the LinkedIn link. So September this year, Joy Academic Group was founded. And Joy Academic Group is a mentoring platform for international graduate research students in China. So you have these benefits when you join this academic group: free light touch edits for 2 academic papers per year, free attendance at academic seminars by experts, and free counseling on academic matters with mentors. So what are you waiting for? You can scan the WeChat QR code for registration. And for this academic year, we have limited space for just 50 applicants. 50 applicants, and the registration fee is 100 RMB per academic year. However, we can waive the fees for you if you have evidence of financial need. All right, so
Thank you very much for the announcement. All right, dear friends, our next speaker is Dr. Uyanga, Dr. Victoria Uyanga. She finished her PhD right here in China from, that is PhD in animal nutrition and physiology. And she's right now a postdoc at Iowa State University in the United States. She's going to be speaking right now on productivity tips for master's and PhD students. Just before the doctor comes in, I want to remind us, if you have questions, please send them in. All our speakers are still around, and we're going to have a general questions and answer session. So please send your questions in. So Dr. Uyanga, we'll be very happy to hear you speak right now. Thank you.
Okay. I'm trying to share my screen. Please, can my screen be seen?
Yes, yes, we can see it very well.
Okay. Just a moment. I think I need to do that again.
Need to enter presentation mode. Okay, good. You're in it now.
Okay. I suppose it's working fine now. Okay, thank you so much. Greetings, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. It's my privilege to have this opportunity to share with us on productivity tips for master's, PhD students, and the rest of us that are actually studying in China. And I want to believe that this group hosts so many people from different backgrounds. So it's really an honor to be one of the speakers for this event. And thank you, Dr. Babayomi, as well as to the Choye Network. I really appreciate. So basically, let me just, I'll try to get your responses as we go along. I'd like to get your feedback, so work with me. And basically, most of the things that you're going to hear, there are things that you already know. And I really want to appreciate the speakers that just finished, Dr. Patrice, as well as Dr. Roland. They had to share a lot, and those things are very, very helpful. So let's just go into what we have to share. I think I've been through 4 institutions now, from the University of Uyu back in Nigeria for my bachelor. Then I had my master's at FUNAB, Federal University of Agriculture. And my experience in China actually took me to Shandong Agricultural University. I was actually glad when I heard Dr. Roland, when he was speaking, he's also from Shandong University. But Shandong University and Shandong Agricultural University are actually different institutions. So I was like, okay, that's another Shandong Ren. Exactly. And as Dr. Babayomi also mentioned, I'm currently in the US for my postdoctoral position. And you can also see my research interests. Basically, I'm an animal scientist, so I won't really go much into all those. And going back to my life in China, I think I left China May this year. But before then, I was opportune to spend about 4 years in China. So I was part of the Animal Eco-Nutrition Lab. And as you can see, my lab, we had almost 50 persons. So it was a large lab size. And that's something I was also very opportune, because I got to work with so many persons and several instructors. And funny enough, I think that was this was actually when we were at field work. So this was even before the COVID came in. So don't mind the face mask and everything. But we kind of worked as a team, which was very, very nice. And we still had our challenges though, but it was nice being part of a large group. And then we did all those, most of the persons here, they've graduated by now. And lastly came the graduation day. So this is just the summary of the time from startup to departure in just photos. And after my graduate studies in China, I was able to transit into a faculty position where I got to teach both graduates as well as undergraduate students for a while. And that was also a very wonderful experience. So basically, that's just giving you the transition from the graduate studies to the faculty position, and the journey still continues. So my coming in today to talk with you on productivity tips. Some of those, as I said earlier, there are things that you're already familiar with. And some of them are things you're going to be like, okay, these are things I can work with. And for some of them, it's something that you will need to also adapt to your own very individualistic situation, okay? So it's something that you look at and be like, okay, this is how I can tailor this to work for me. So just be open-minded. And these are some of the contents we're going to go through. But before then, let's just have an overview what the graduate studies is like in China. And basically, I want to believe that I'm addressing international students. At least I looked through the participant list, so I want to believe I'm addressing international students. That's something that we all have in common here. So firstly, I just want to tell you congratulations, okay? Just you can pat yourself on the back and be like, congratulations. For you to actually be a graduate student in China, that's telling me, and most you must have passed through your bachelor's degree, which is the first part. And then you were able to get a visa to study in China. So that is a huge feat. So you just getting here. I think my previous colleague talked about the power of the mindset. So for you to actually pass those two huge milestones and then you're here where you are, I'm going to tell you a huge congratulations, okay? You have done well and there is still more for you to do. So you're just getting ready to get started. Let me put it that way. And I just had to go back to look at the stats. So what's the status like? And funny enough, most of the international students we have in China, they are from Asia. And then we also have Africa coming up on the rise, okay? We also have some other continents as such. Although this data may need to be updated because it's from 2018. That was the last update I could find from them. But I'll want to believe that the number we're having from Africa now is going to skyrocket in years to come, especially with the opening of policy and the whole Sino-African relationship and everything that is just coming on the rise. And then when you're looking at the top countries coming up, since Asia actually carries the top number of international students coming in, so you're just going to see a whole lot of Asian countries, and we still have the United States somewhere there. So this is just giving us an overview of who are the major players that we get to interact with. Mind you, I think one of the earlier presenters said, you're not in isolation, you're working with people. So it's you're going into a task, you need to have a background, a foreknowledge. Who am I going up? Or who will I be dealing with? Who am I going up against, okay? And I also kind of came across this information on the top provinces that we have. So before I bring this up, can you guys just, maybe you can put in the chat box, which city or which province are you currently studying? I want to see if what I have matches with the participants' opinion of what we have here. So can you just type in which province is your institution or which city? I'm trying to look at the chat box. Okay, I have Shandong, Inner Mongolia. Okay, I had a friend that studied there. Beijing, yeah. We know you guys are always there. Somebody's in Jinan. Okay, Jinan, that Jilin. Okay. Wow, I'm having many people from Shandong, and this is actually making me so happy because my city was in Taiwan, and I could literally point at the number of foreign students that we had there. So I'm glad we have so many people from Shandong. That's making me so grateful. Okay, so I'm just going to bring that up again. Okay, so basically, I think we have Shandong here. Yeah, that should be the number 10. But Beijing, you guys are the ones carrying the top parts, and there are just so many provinces. I think I've not seen Inner Mongolia here, but that doesn't mean you're underrepresented or something. It just means there's room for improvement. So that's basically telling you that in several places in China, we have international students, foreign students scattered abroad, okay? And to the big, huge question here, because obviously you're already in China, but I want to understand what brought you to China? You could have gone to any place literally in the world. You could have maybe the US, maybe Arab, maybe UK, but what informed your decision to study in China? Can somebody just be honest with me? Like, what made you come to China? You can put it in the chat box. Okay, Gerald, availability of scholarship. Nelly, scholarship, okay. Am I going to get any different opinion? Like, what brought it? It can't just be scholarships. Lack of jobs. Rita, that sounds very familiar. Easy to get visa. Enoch, wow. I would like to know which country you're from, because my country, not really. China is cheaper. Okay, okay. I think that would be relative. I'd also like to know like which city you're actually from. So they are going to be like varied responses, all these based on our different circumstances, where we find ourselves, where we are coming from, okay? So basically those things you guys have brought forth, it also falls, I think I've been able to capture some of them here. Scholarship, cost of living, quality education, career prospects. This is a good thing. You know, you don't just want to put your time into schooling and then you cannot present the certificate somewhere, okay? So it can also increase like employability. The first presenter also gave us, you know, like China is just this massive force that is coming up now, especially on the global scale. So you're coming up and you're like, okay, I studied in China. Actually, I came to realize that's like a major force. I got talking with one of my mentors here, I think that was last week. And once I just gave her like a profile of like, okay, I'm from Nigeria, I studied in China, I'm working in the US. And she was like, you've been to like 3 continents. And I was like, oh, that's a major plus. So that means you've been able to transit life across these places. Maybe you just want to learn something new. That's what took you to China. Or I'll just say life happened. Life happened. It may not be part of like these top things that I came up with, but life just happened that you just found yourself in China. So yeah, you're already there. That means since you're already there, you're already in the system, you need to make the best of it. You need to make the best of it. And I believe that's one of the priorities for this event that is being hosted. Because if you're studying as a master's student, if you're studying as a PhD student in China, then you're not just there like to spend the time and then at the end of the day, oh, okay, what were you doing? What do you need to show for it? And okay, I think this was also covered, like being that we have some similarities in common, that also tells us that we're going to have some challenges that is going to cut across all of us. So I wouldn't even want, because if I want to be like, okay, can you guys come up with some of the challenges you're facing? Like we won't end this meeting today. So I just came up like, they're just some of them. The language is a major factor. And I'm so glad our first presenter was able to give us some tips on that, how you can go about it. The culture shock, yeah, you know, you're going into a new environment and you'll be expecting, okay, maybe the food will be different, the dressing may be different. But when it comes to China in particular, there's just some things that you never planned your mind for. And those are things that are going to hit you right in the face, okay? The social support, stress and anxiety, like I showed you that I came from a huge lab size, a huge lab group. But one of the times that I was so stressed up was when I needed to collect samples. I have, not even had, because I'm still working with them. I have a good relationship with several of my lab colleagues. But when it came to like maybe the time to go and collect samples, I'm an animal scientist, so I work with chicken most of the time. Maybe you have like 800 chickens in the farm, and then you need to take, after feeding them for a time, maybe kill them, collect some tissue and do some work with those. You can't do that alone. You need people. But the reality of that, like what was said earlier, some of them, they also have their tasks to do. Some of them are busy, some of them genuinely busy, and some of them are not just interested. So one of the times that I had, like, I could stay up throughout the night just thinking on like, how will I take on sample collection? And I think the worst case that I had was collecting sample till like 2 a.m. or was it 3 a.m., just me and another student. And funny, I never even allowed like my supervisor to hear about that, because he would have just gotten so angry at every other person. But yeah, these things these are just challenges that come up, okay? And there's still so many classroom transition. Maybe you're not dissatisfaction with study. You came into China like with your own research idea, and then somebody is giving you something else to work with, and maybe it's not even in a field that you're very familiar with, or you just came across some technicalities in your research and you didn't even know how to go about it. There are like tons of them, so many things. So basically, I'm just going to be solidifying on what the other two presenters have. They have given us like so much information, okay, on the reasons to study, the common mistakes that are being made. But these are just some tips that I'm just going to bring up, and then you can see the one that actually works for you. And the first part is going into like your academic experience, your resources. As I said, congratulations, you're already here in China, but what are you going to do? Like to make the best use of the time that you are here. So since you're already here and maybe you need to take lectures or you need to do some research, please grab as many tools as you can to ensure that at the end of the day, at the end of your time, you are coming up with something very, very, a very wonderful outcome. It may be in terms of your research outputs, it may be in terms of your academic record, but just come up with something that shows that you didn't just spend your time or you didn't just waste your time and the resources that has been invested into you, okay? And some of these things may be like communicating with your teachers, like if you have a good relationship with your supervisor, great for you. But the reality is that some persons, they don't have that privilege. Like there is just like how you try, no matter how you try, you still see that your peer, he doesn't even want to see your face. And you may just try to be like, what did I do wrong? And then you can't even pinpoint like, what do I need to do or what do I need to correct? So that means your own situation is very tricky, but regardless of it, you still need to find a way to work around it. If you need to like develop new skills, maybe get to learn. I know in my own lab, we had like this apprenticeship kind of thing. As a new student, you come in and they're like, okay, you need to learn from that person. And that one of the challenges I actually faced was most of maybe the lab manuals, they were in Chinese. And gladly, my program was English. So I had to learn Chinese for like the first 3 months. I could get the basic ni hao, this and that. Unfortunately, my PI, or if I'm saying PI, that's like my supervisor as well. My PI, he had a good knowledge of English. So we were able to relate very well. We were able to communicate between ourselves. But when it came to the students I'm working with, most of them, their English skills were very intermediate, I would put it. So like for the first year of me working with my team, most of what I had was Timbudon, or Wabuhwe. And at that point, I was like, how am I going to like get to do this work? You know how you go to meet your PI, you discuss, you have good ideas, and you need to execute it only for you to come, okay, how can I buy this reagent? And the person is telling you Timbudon. Or how can I, where can I find this? And it's Timbudon. So, you know, at that point, it's very, very frustrating. Those that have actually had such issues, you can relate. But regardless of that, you still need to be able to pass through that stage. There are just some things you need to pass through to be able to come out at this other end of the line, okay? So I would tell you, I had to pass through that stage. And then when they just saw that this girl was just so persistent, because if I'm asking you today, maybe in English and you're not answering, tomorrow I'll come back and ask you in the way, maybe I'll use translator and you're still not, next tomorrow I'll go and find another Chinese person that can tell me how to say it. So I was just employing like different methods and techniques just to break through. But at the end of the day, you know that you need to learn this skill, you need to learn this technique. So whatever that you need to do to get through to that point, please employ the necessary resources. And then one thing that was helpful to me was like the library services, although most of the books they were in like in Chinese, my school, but there was like, I love studying. So just having that space where I can go in to maybe just sit down, get good network connection. And there was also a part that had like the English section. So I actually found this very helpful, especially when I was writing my thesis, just going to the library. And they were also like friendly staff. They said I could walk up to them, try to maybe explain myself and all that. On the part of the language skills, if you're in China and this is already like a great opportunity, if you can, please try and learn the language, okay? just try and learn the language if you can. Not just the one that you're learning to pass HSK, but like the one that you can come out and then you can communicate. My language skills is like intermediate. And basically despite maybe having to communicate with one or two persons, I didn't really like need to use the Chinese language for my course of study or something. But if you have the opportunity, please do learn it. This is like very, very necessary. Determine your niche early on. Like, it's just part of the reality that you may have like a research that you want to work on, and then you get into China and then you're being faced with like a very different area. Okay. So in that kind of case, some PIs are actually very nice. They may tell you, okay, for the first 3 months, you need to like get some papers, you need to study. Some may even be nice as to give you the time to be like, okay, you need to write a review paper first. If there's something you can do, please do it. Because you getting to write up a review paper of your work, it gives you like, you know, when you're writing review, it's an extensive literature review. You get to come across like, and it also puts you like the recent knowledge of what is going on that particular topic. So if you have the opportunity, like you're starting up and then maybe you get to discuss with your PI and it's like, okay, I need you to use maybe like this first 3 months to come up with a review paper on this topic or something, embrace it wholeheartedly. At the end of the day, the review paper is still counting your name. But if that's not the case, then in fact, I think I had a colleague, like for the first 2-3 years, he was just doing like different experiments. Okay, come and do this one, he would do this one, he would do. And at the end of the day, he was still asking his PI, what topic am I working on? Or what's my research area? And when it came to writing the final thesis, I think he just had to like combine everything together and then try to make sense of it. So that's why when it comes to like studying in China, I wouldn't say like this is just the way it works. My own case, I actually had to come up with my own topic, which at that time, I saw it was like an issue. I was like, my supervisor, he was giving topics to other students. But when he came to my own state, he was like, go and find 3 topics and bring it to me. And I was like, you would have just given me topic. Let me do like other people. And that would have made it easier for me. But at the end of the day, it was actually for my own good, because most of my research progress, the ideas, and like the next steps, I had to synthesize them. Okay. So please try to determine like your niche, what you're studying on, how your research trend, progress, everything early on, instead of like trying to troubleshoot in between. Practice time management. One of our speakers had already said this before. Set up a routine on how you want to work. And importantly, nowadays, social media, whether you like it or not, is a huge distraction. It's a huge distraction. So you want to manage your productive time versus your social media time. And then like what you need to do, set your priorities straight. And with this can also help you in setting reasonable goals for yourself. Like this for today, most times I get to work with like these sticky notes because I write a lot. I get to work with sticky notes. And then for my day, I can just like, okay, 7 to 9 a.m., this is what I want to do. 9 to this, I get to break up my day into small pieces. And then what I want to do per time. Okay, that helps me to manage my time. Like if you're asking me, what did you do during the day? I can just look back and be like, okay, I got to do this and this. So you may want to set reasonable goals for yourself on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, monthly goals, just things that can help you trash down on the things you're working towards your graduation. Okay, I need to do this experiment. I need to finish this objective, this and that. And it's those goals that will help you towards getting there. It's already been said, you shouldn't stay in isolation. You need, in China, regardless of the challenges, you need to integrate yourself socially. If you're in a system where you have like other foreign students, good for you. My school, as at the time I was there, we were just 3 foreign students. Now, thank God, the number has increased. But that tells you that most of the time, most of the things I had to do, I needed to work with my Chinese counterparts. And if you're being sincere, it's not, except for like some of them that are very, very nice. I met most of them very, very nice. They will be willing to go out of their way to assist you. But aside from them, most of them, you need to break through to be able to actually get them to communicate with you, talk less of even like going the extra mile. So if you're part of a research team, you need to firstly, humility. They will reject him so many times. You need humility, persistence, but you need to find a way to work with them. You need them. And some of them, they even bring papers, help me review the papers. Some of them, they may even say, maybe your name is not even included in the paper, but they just need you to review the paper for them. Yes, it's a good opportunity for you to make yourself of relevance. Okay, make yourself of value in that particular position. Yeah, most of them, they are always struggling with like English write-ups and things like that. And there you are, fortunately, an English speaker. So why don't you use that to your advantage? And aside from like the people that you're working with, I would also advise, try to make local friends. If you're getting to stay off campus, that may also be a good platform to like get to know the people around there, living around there. Funny enough, they may come in handy. Or if you're getting to live on campus where maybe you have a foreign student hostel or accommodation, try to also get to know the people around you. I had friends like me while I already told you we're very few in my school. While I was just there on my own, I had like my friends that I'll go out for dinner with. I just trying to find a way to, aside from like my work routine, get a social aspect to my life. Well, on this side, I'll be getting my friends that are telling me they're coming back from football match or they went to the karaoke together with other foreign students. And I was like, wow, they were having wonderful experience because they had like a large group of people to work with. So please don't just limit yourself to like academic. The social part is also very important. And another thing I'll try to buttress there is, you know, with the social part, if you're getting to like interact with other academicians or the other people in your similar field, that also brings up collaboration. You collaborate with them, you communicate with them, and you get published. Studying in China, publication is very paramount. Back here in the US, yeah, it's important, but it's not as heavily emphasized as what we had to go through there. So try to get your work published, the sooner the better. And I think one of the advice that was given was, if you can get like all your works published before you start writing up your thesis, that makes the work so much easier. It's one of the things I practically enjoyed because like all the chapters of my thesis were published before I was done. So when it came to writing thesis, I think I started by, is it December? And by March, I was done. Not that, okay, yeah, some of the methodology, you know, it will be the same, but I still had to make some changes in the work. But at the end of the day, I think most of like what is in my thesis has already been published. And I just had like the last publication this month. So if you can publish like your research as it goes, however you want to get that done, at the end of the day, getting to write up your thesis or dissertation, it makes it a very easy process. Join professional groups and organizations. This would also depend on what is on your campus, okay? It depends on what is on your campus. But if you're part of like a professional body, maybe there's like Chinese Association of Bees, like in my field, I know there's a Chinese Association of Animal Science, or we had like the World Poultry Science and we had the China chapter. So that's also another opportunity to network, get to meet people, and then you may even get to meet some mentors from such events. And support by the international office. That there's just no two way around that. This is important, maybe for visa processes that will come up later. You know, once you're studying and doing all this academic thing, don't forget that you're an international student. You don't have the permanent residency. So just know that everything you're doing is within projected time. So if you're able to have a good relationship with the ISO office, the international office, that's a major plus. Because one of the things I also enjoyed there was the fact that when we had like major events that they needed foreign students to represent, they'll bring us in. But there was even a time that the province was giving scholarships, and they just told us, okay, send in your like academic reports, and we enjoyed the scholarship. But that doesn't mean we didn't work for it. We worked for it. So having a good backup from the international office, that's a major plus. It just makes it way easier. I already talked on the accommodation. And I think that also brings us to like the visa issues that you may need to come across. You know, there are just these tricky issues that come up especially when it comes to like student visa, or you need extension or something just happened. And at that point, it's from the international office. At least my school, I know you have to go through through from your supervisor to the international office and there and then. So at the end of it, these people, they may be silent, but they're important role players that you also need to break through across. And yeah, we need to work. It's important. We need to work. We need to write the papers. We need to get published. But at the end of the day, there's this thing called work-life balance. Okay, I worked extensively. Like looking back now, like that I'm here, I'm still like, I'm not working as I used to work before. Let me put it like that, because while I was a student at SDAU, I worked Monday to Saturdays. My Saturday, I was like in the lab. We had like this lab seminar in the morning, then afternoon, I think afternoon, if I had a research, I'll still be in the lab. Then my Sunday was what I had to myself. So I was working like Monday to Saturdays, which I believe is also maybe similar to so many other persons there. But then there were like even some holidays and I was still like in the lab trying to finish up work and every other thing. So when it came to my time, like I was done with China, I knew that anywhere else that I was going to work, I needed to prioritize this work-life balance. Because I got to that point that I was asking myself questions. So after I've had these publications, after I've presented in these conferences, after I have like this high academic profile, what next? Okay, that tells you that there was that point that I got to like, okay, I needed more, just like trying to balance my lifestyle, trying to balance academics, bringing in the social part and just so many things. I don't think anybody wants to look back on your life, maybe the next 30 or 40 years and you're like, okay, my academics was doing quite well, but then you lost touch with your family. Or my academic was doing quite well and then every other thing around you got to suffer for it. No. So please, this idea of balancing, you may not get it 50-50, but at least maybe 65 or 60-40, or just try to make things work across board. And then I'll just say, don't be too self-critical. I think I started off by telling you congratulations. Like you've been able to jump so many milestones, just getting yourself at this point that you are in as a graduate student in a foreign country. You deserve an applaud because there are still people that, looking back, they still have to work so much towards that. So if you're able to make like some progress with your work, with your supervisor, with your team, with your social landscape, that's something for you to actually applaud yourself for, because there's this like positive feedback that you get when that leads to more reward. Exactly. So don't be too self-critical, and it's also okay to ask for help. This is something that most of us downplay. Don't be, I can do it by myself, or it's good to have like self-confidence, I can do attitude, but when you need to ask for help, please don't keep quiet. Okay, maybe you have a very difficult PI, then they may be other supervisors or other people in that institution that you can actually work with as mentors. I'm not saying go and report your PI to somebody, you're just going to make the whole situation more complicated. But you can actually try to outsource for mentors or people that can actually guide you through the process. Or you can look for like other colleagues, senior colleagues that have done a similar work, and you try to reach out to them for help. And I will say plan for the future, especially if you are not intending for China to be like, you're not intending to stay in China for like a long time or for the entire part of your life. If you know that, okay, maybe after my master's, I want to do PhD, or after my PhD, I want to go to another country or something, start planning early, okay? So that you don't just take yourself unawares. And when it comes to productivity, I also like to tell you to be open-minded, okay? There's so many resources now in terms of AI tools and every other thing. And one of those that fascinates me is this Pomodoro technique. It's what most of my colleagues have. Me, I didn't even know stuff. But I came here and I realized, they get to do some tasks. They're sitting down for like 25 to 40 minutes. And before, you just see them standing up and walking around. Very simple. And that's what they put here. They even have to write a whole book for it, Pomodoro technique. So you walk, you take a short break. That helps with your entire body physiology and so many other things you need to do. If there's something you're interested in, I think there's like an app for it. You can download it to your phone, and you can even get to read more about it. But aside from that, I think also being part of some social network, like we have this Joyen network, they have like a WeChat group. You can join up. From those kind of networks, you get to get access to information, academic information, and the rest of it. So those are things that can help your productivity as well. Now, some of you are also WeChat groups, you see this kind of information getting shared across. If you see the one that comes in relevant to you, save it to your phone and then try to look up on it. Tools for literature review, websites for PhD, things like that. The world that we are in now, it's a digital world, so you need to stay updated. Stay updated on information, stay updated on resources. And as we said, get to ask people for good, not just asking your worry, okay, but ask intelligently and ask for information that would be of help to you. There may be a code that you're struggling with, and then somebody else has already done it. That would just give you a breakthrough, something that you would have been sitting down for 3 to 5 weeks to work on. And then just getting the right information from somebody, that lessens that stress level of yours to like just maybe 1 or 2 to 30 seconds. So please try to stay updated, try to form a good network, and then get as much information as possible. These are just some skills that you may need. Number 1, good academic standing, critical thinking, excellent work ethics, and patience and perseverance, okay? So there are so many other skills that you need in graduate school, but these are just some of those. And with that, I think I'll just bring my presentation to an end. Feel free to connect. And once again, thank you for the opportunity to share and to discuss. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Dr. Victoria. That was very nice. Please, we can see that it's good to be in a very comfortable environment, unlike the hot China, where everybody's only taking over work 24/7. You can see the flow, and thank you so much, Dr. Victoria. We appreciate that. And deaf people, we are approaching the closing of this event. We're in the last 20 minutes or so of this event, and therefore we've come a long way. We're going to take questions and answers now. We're entering our questions and answer session. We have 2 of our speakers who would be mainly taking the question and answer session, Dr. Hammad and Dr. Victoria. And Dr. Semiu. Dr. Semiu. So Dr. Hammad, I think, is not online, but Dr. Semiu is here. So Dr. Semiu and all the remaining speakers, we would like to see your video at this point in time because we want to ask you some questions. So it's time for questions and answers. We'd like all our speakers to turn their videos on, and then we'll start asking questions by speaking first with Dr. Semiu. So let me remove my screen share so that we can see our speakers clearly. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Good. I think we have Dr. Victoria. Are you able to come online? Okay, great. I know where you are. It's like morning. The sun is just rising. So, like many of us that have to use artificial light. All right. So right now we have a few questions, and I'm going to start with Dr. Semiu Bello. But then the first question is, one of the speakers said, no, let me start with this one, that there are cultural nuances in China. All right. Unlike the West, where people call themselves, they can call their professors by first name. Oh, Fred, can you do that in China? I want to just understand. And what are the things that some international students do unconsciously that creates a gap between them and their supervisors or PI, like Dr. Uyanga calls them? There are some things that international students don't know they are doing, but those things are already creating a bridge that can never close. So, Dr. Bello, can you please just give us some tips here?
Okay, good day, everyone. Thank you for inviting me and other speakers to this great webinar. Yeah, just like your question, yeah, if you're in China, you need to be conscious of the culture. And there is a saying in China when you respect, when the father knows he's a father, the mother knows she is the mother, and the kids know they are the children, it makes things work. So for instance, in my own laboratory, we usually call our professors Laoshi. So if you are a foreign student, you should try to do as other Chinese are doing. And also, because we have our own cultural way of doing things in Africa, for instance. The first day I met with my professor, I almost prostrated for him. So he asked me, why are you prostrated? I said, don't worry. And whenever I visited him or whenever I visit him, because I still work with him, I try not to see it until when he obliged me to sleep. Like he will even force me to sit. So all those things really matter. And also because we have this mindset that there's Africa time. When the Chinese tell you or your professor tell you, let's meet by 9, to be at the silver side, get there 8:30, even possible, get there before him. And that would be like a trust, because the first thing that matters is if they don't trust you, they can't give you a word to take. And if they don't trust you, they can't trust your work. So if you want to maintain a good relationship with them, you should be conscious of all this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doctor, for that. Trust. You know something? I learned that living in China, I realized that Chinese will observe you for a while. But the moment they trust you, it's as if they can leave their bank account for you to even, and they know that nothing will get missing from that bank account.
Yeah, I think I had that
But it may
experience.
take some time to get that level of trust. Yeah, listen to it.
They tested me. There was a day I got some money inside my account. I realized it was during the end of finishing my PhD. I said, who sent this money to me? So when I asked the international office, this is more than my stipend. I asked my professor, he said, oh, sorry, my secretary made a mistake. Bello sent back to him. I busted into laughter. I said, why are you laughing? I said, it's okay. So the second day he called me and said, Bello, thank you so much. The following day, said, Bello, thank you so much. So it's just like he wanted to test me before giving me the postdoc, whether I have the financial commitment to research. So it's okay. This is just a small money, and I don't take what doesn't belong to me. We should also be conscious of this, because what we want to get from the system is more than only money. So if you put your thought in money, it's difficult to succeed in China. So we have to be careful of this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I really love this breakdown gave. I want to encourage everyone in this webinar. Please, Chinese drink respect like food. Don't joke with it. If you don't, it's better to be on the safe side and give it too much than to not give it. But when they find out that you are very respectful, doors will open. The other speakers have said a lot of things, but I think I still need to emphasize on this concept of respect. Many of us, some people come from, it's very developed. You know, this one of the goals of this webinar is to address people from developing countries and help them to integrate outside into new environment, in the new environments. China is not the West. Asian culture is different from the Western culture. I know you've been watching a lot of BBC, CNN, and a lot of American movies on was it Flex or no, I'm sorry, I don't. We watch a lot of American movies, but don't practice those cultures in China. That's the first thing. That's the only thing I'll say. All right, let me go to the next one. I'll still ask Dr. Semiu, then I'll now ask other questions. One of the speakers said, whatever you need to do to get ahead, make sure you do it. And I want to ask you, Dr. Bello, what are some of unusual things you did to succeed on your program?
Okay.
Can you just share some unusual things?
Thank you so much. When I got to China, I realized we need to pass Chinese certificate or Chinese HSK3 for us to succeed, part of the graduation requirement. And getting a paper published in animal genetics is not easy. Just like Dr. Victoria said earlier, you need to collect sample, you need to do some laboratory, some bioinformatics analysis. So the first thing I did was I gave myself a timeline. Before the end of 2020, I guess I came in 2019. Said before the end of 2020, I must submit my HSK3 to the International Office. So as I was trying to conceive idea for my research, I just focused on studying Chinese, learning HSK3, trying to speak with them. after I got that, I just focused on my research. And luckily for me, I got my first paper before the end of my second year. So which means I met the requirement for my graduation before the end of second year. So if that is possible, if you need HSK certificates, you should try to get it ahead, because the stress of thinking about publication, thinking about thesis writing, thinking about meeting other requirements towards the end is not easy. So combining with language might be a very difficult task. So I think this is what I did, and to God be the glory. It really helped me. Thank you.
Congratulations. Congratulations. And just to add to what you said there, one of the things that someone told me when I first started my PhD was, if your PhD is for 4 years, tell yourself you have only 3 years to work, so that you work early, you work harder early. But if you think you have 4 years, you'll make a big mistake. At the last minute, you will not be ready. So that's just to add to what Dr. Bello said. Now I'm going to ask the others questions now. Some people have sent questions into the group. Somebody said, and I think I'll throw this question to the lady among us, because I think this question is coming from a female. How do you maintain better academic relationship with an opposite sex supervisor? So Dr. Uyanga, how did you handle it? Because I believe that your supervisor was male. Am I right?
Yes, you
How
are.
did you strike the balance there?
Okay. So, to the best of my knowledge, getting to work with like opposite sex in China was not really a problem, okay? Because unlike my country, I won't mention the name, but we had like cases of maybe a teacher putting forth some words, maybe in addressing you or something that you just felt like uncomfortable with. But I never actually had to experience such a thing with maybe my teachers or with my colleagues. But one of the things I'll put this, it's how you carry yourself. Okay. Everything starts with like, once they get to see you, how you present yourself, the conversations you have with them. Okay. It's I won't actually say it's you that makes the room for such incidences to happen, because there are some people, whether it's true or they'll still just do what is in their own head. But I think you also have a very huge role to play in that, how it goes about. And even in a situation where even in a case where you find yourself in such a situation where you're having a PI making some remarks that is not suitable, here in the US is a very serious thing that I don't really know how it's handled there in China. So even if you're having yourself in that kind of situation, there are still ways you can go about it to handle it. It may be, before even getting to the part of making a formal report, because once you make a formal report, everything has blown out of proportion. It may be you having to distance yourself, or you're going to meet the person and you're going there with somebody else, preferably even a Chinese colleague as well. So number one, I'll just say prevent it as much as possible. And that comes like with your conversation, with your presentation and everything. And then if you're in such a case, please don't keep quiet. Try to ask for help. I'm sure there are going to be like maybe female lecturers or maybe the ISSO office that you can actually take such matters to. But don't put yourself in that predisposing situation where you now have to be dealing with such. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you. Dr. Uyanga, I think this is for Dr. Bello and Dr. Uyanga. There are some questions relating to how to apply for PhD in animal science. Could you just do us a favor by replying that kind of message by text? Because I think it's like specific. So you could just reply by typing the answer in there. So maybe I request for Dr. Bello to help us with that one. As a master's student, how do I apply for a PhD in animal science? Blah, blah, blah. So please help us with that. Thank you. Then another question says that, how do you choose a research? Okay, now, before I go to read further ones, there's somebody raising the hand. Let me see. There's someone whose hand is raised. So I want to ask for that person to please speak. Someone's hand is raised. Yes, you're muted.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you, Innocent.
Okay. I just want to know, is there any possibility of getting job after graduation in China? Not necessarily a postdoc, probably maybe a permanent job with some of the institutions.
All right. Thank you very much. I think I'll
And
ask Dr. Yeah, okay, you have another question?
another question is, will you advise someone to go to Australia for his PhD? Probably if the person is getting both China and Australia at the same time, will you advise someone to go to China instead of Australia? And what is the reason behind it?
Thank you very much for that question. So I'm going to ask, I'll split the answers into two parts, and I'll ask Dr. Victoria to answer the second part of Australia and China, since you're not in China anymore. Then I'll ask Dr. Monkam to please answer the first part.
Yes, regarding the first question, I would say it's possible because I'm actually a faculty member, but it's very difficult because in China, as a new graduate with a PhD, they have what they call, like, you must have some foundings before you can be, I would say, employed as a faculty member. But sometimes you have a lot of good publication. That means that the requirement in terms of publication will be double if you don't have foundings. So that's the problem, but it's very, very challenging to get a position directly after your PhD. Of course, we all know that in China with postdoc, you can get like 350, 100K, or even 400K. But actually for a faculty position, assistant prof like me, you barely have something around 18 or even 20,000. 18 and 20,000. So that is it. I don't know if my answer is actually helpful to you regarding your question. Mr. Innocent, are you there?
Yeah, I'm there. I think you've answered the question. I think you've answered the question. It means when I start a program, I have to do well with publications and also find ways to get grants. I think I've gotten something there.
Yeah, but you know that normally as a PhD student, it's impossible for you to apply for grant. So for you to go straight to faculty position, you must have good publication.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
But I would say my case was very helpful because I had about 3 publications during my master.
Okay.
And then during PhD, I was able to have first author, 4,
Okay.
Yeah, so I was able to cover that.
So, Prof, who paid for the publication fee?
I would say we all know that open access are not always very good journal. I'm saying not always, because we know like Science, Nature, all those things are open access. But I would say during my master, I published 2 open access. My supervisor paid for it because he recommended. But everything I published during my PhD, even 1 RMB, I did not spend. I did not publish any open access. Because, you have to have your own standard and you'll set your goals, right? So it's something personal. And sometimes most of our foreign students, we may end up arguing with the supervisor when it comes to publication. Because every project, if you've been working as a faculty member or you've been in touch with those grant stuff, not every grant you have some money allocated for publication. So that's why sometimes if you want to go for open access, the supervisor will say you have to pay by yourself. And sometimes it's not like the supervisor doesn't want to help you, but while doing my PhD, I participated in writing some grant proposals. But you will see it's listed there clearly that this amount of money can only be used for so thing. So these are some of the confusion that we should avoid.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much,
After
Dr.
now.
Monkam, for the answer. So that's clarified. There's a question here. Let me represent it, then I'll read it. The question says that thanks for a good presentation. Oh no, before I go to that, I think there's a question Dr. Uyanga hasn't answered. The Australia-China decision making.
Okay, that's a tough one though, because at the end of the day, it still boils down to you. You know, it's your life. You're the one that gets to decide. But it's just that there are some factors that comes in handy. Okay. Basically, you have two positions. You have one in China. You have one in Australia. So, well, number one, I'll ask, what are the positions? What does it entail? Okay, it's like maybe I actually know, like, I have some friends or colleagues, they worked as professors in China and they decided to go to another country for a postdoc or for something even at a lower level, maybe a lecturer position. I worked as an associate professor and now I'm doing a postdoc. That's like taking me a bit down, but I know why I had to tread that. So at the end of the day, it still comes back to you, costs, maybe the finances involved, the exposure, the what you get to work with, maybe the equipment, those can also come in. But I know most people, they like fall back to like the money parts. And also maybe the working hours. There are just so many things involved. But up till date, one of the toughest decisions I had to make in my life so far was deciding between US and China. So it's not just going to be, if you need to like get a pen and paper, then you write this side US, this side China, or sorry, Australia, and then China. And then you get to look through those points one by one. Please do it. And then I also want to tell you, don't just make the decision in a hurry. Also think about your long-term goals, okay? In the next 5 years, in the next 10 years, would you look back on this decision and be proud that you actually went in this direction? Those are important things. And please, I want to add to the first question that Innocent added, that Dr. Patrice answered. Okay, it's possible to get a faculty position in China. Publications are very, very good with regards to that. But another thing that can also give you a leverage is try to get involved with the institution. It's very important. If we have like 10 people now coming for the same job position, this one has 5 publications, this one has 10 publications. There should be like that additional factor, that thing that makes you stand out. That may be your international, the way maybe your presentation in conferences, or the way you've been able to collaborate with other international colleagues, or like what services have you been able to contribute to that school. So this is, if you know this is what you're planning for, it's a long-term plan. Start now and start putting those things together. Thank you for that.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your answer. We have a question here. I think after this, we'll take just one more because we've run out of time. This has been a very interesting discussion, and it's almost like we should not close, but we just have to close. Now, the question says, I would like to choose a research, the person said, I would like to ask that when you choose a research topic that your supervisor is not familiar with, how can that person get support from others to finish the research? When you choose a research topic that your supervisor is not familiar with, how can the person get support from others to finish the research? Dr. Roland, would you please say something about this?
Yeah,
I think because first and foremost, is it right to even pick a topic that your supervisor isn't familiar with?
Yeah.
Okay, please continue.
Okay. Yeah, and yeah, it's from my point of view, it's very important to be actively engaged with your supervisor. But if you want to choose like a topic by yourself, I think you need to be sure that what you want to do, you will be able to do it, and don't rely on like others to maybe do the main work for you. But you need to be able to at least like do the main work and maybe get help from other people to do some few things. Yeah. But if I want to give an advice is not to try to maybe go far from the main research area of your supervisor. But if you choose to do that, be sure also that the supervisor is okay with that. Because if you decide to choose a topic from the beginning and your supervisor is not okay with that, he will wait for you at the end, like for the time of final defense, to maybe reject maybe your final work or things like that. Yeah, I think everything should be clear from the beginning. If you want to choose a topic by yourself, is your supervisor okay with that? Yes, then you go ahead. But if you feel like your supervisor is not happy with your choice, then you need to think about it and see if you are able to do that or who can help you to do that. Yeah, but mostly I think you need to rely on yourself first. And then the second thing is, if you know that you cannot do that, then it's better to follow him, because mostly in China, as I said in the presentation, supervisors have like research funding or research like ideas, and they need students to help them to work on the research. And sometimes, like if you decide to go by yourself, some of them are not happy, but they won't tell you the truth. Yeah, and yeah, this is what I can say. I don't know if I answered your question.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
I think the answer is comprehensive.
Oh,
We want to say something. Yes, you can speak, sir.
Yeah, I was trying to say that is a very good question, because there's a difference between not being familiar and being interested. But I would say that as a master's student, please don't go into anything that your supervisor is not familiar with, because the time is shorter as compared to a PhD student. But in my case, what I did, I was one of the first students to work on medical image processing in my research lab. And actually, my supervisor was very much interested in that topic, but he could never ask a student to go and do the PhD proposal on that topic because he was afraid that the student might not be able to make it. So in the beginning, he told me that, do you like this thing? I said, yes, sir, I like it. And then when we started along the way, I really felt so down one day because I got rejected from a journal because I did not analyze my database on the field. He came to me, he said to me that, you know this thing that I don't know anything about this, so I cannot help you. Try and see what you can do. You know, I felt bad on that day, but I was also happy because my supervisor was humble enough to be sincere to say this to me. You know, so he was interested, but he wasn't familiar with what I was doing, because you have to really find a difference. But as a master's student, please don't try that because you don't have enough time.
Thank you very much, Dr. Patrice. We appreciate that. There's a question I would ask Dr. Roland to kindly reply by typing it on financing PhD studies in finance. Could you just type the answer so we can take one final question? We're just going to take one more question and then close this. Let's just take one final question for the benefit of this writer. I think it's going to help that person. Sometimes it's a bit long, and I want to ask, I'll ask Dr. Bello to help us with this one. Dr. Bello, the question is there. What if a supervisor does not want you to publish your works and it makes you put 4 chapters into one paper, which could have even generated 2 papers? It seems he has interest in only Chinese students and not foreigners. How do you cope with such a situation when you also need more papers? Dr. Bello, what do you want to say about it?
This is a tough question. Anyways, you have to, the first thing is not only about publication, because you might publish in even Nature, but you also need a degree. And just like I think Dr. Roland said, you have to maintain a good relationship with your supervisor to have your degree. So if he insists he wants you to mark the 4 chapters together as a one paper, I think the best you can do is just to to take this situation the way it comes. Because if you do otherwise, it's going to bounce back. And the bounce back will not be a good result. It happens if it's experienced, as I speak with you, I have a paper for my PhD still somewhere on my desktop. He's not interested in that work right now. He just wants me to get my paper for postdoc. I can't force it on him. You know, you have to know Chinese for this. If you force it on him, he's going to agree. But when there's any issue, maybe his fear is if you publish it separately, maybe you might not be able to defend your 4 chapters for you. Excuse me. Maybe you might not be able to defend your 4 chapters for you for defense. But when you have a single paper, maybe his expectation is even high from that research. So I would just suggest for the questioner, the person that has this question, just to follow the instruction of his supervisor, so that we will not get stuck along the road. Getting the paper is very good, but getting the degree is much better. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I like your conclusion. Getting a paper is good, getting the degree is much better. And I will add this. Maintaining a cordial relationship with your supervisor is going to go even beyond the degree. I've seen a lot of job positions, post-studies, whether it's master's, PhD, and they would always say, one of your references must be your supervisor. 5 years down the line, they will still say, one of your references must be your PhD supervisor, your master supervisor. So if you spoil that relationship and you get your degree, you say, well, it's just the degree, I need it, and I'm going. In the future, how will you explain why your supervisor cannot give you a reference? I have somebody like that right now. After he left, he graduated with his PhD with excellent papers, but he cannot go back to his supervisor because something really bad happened between them when he was finishing. And right now, he told me, I'm looking for who can take the place of my supervisor because I know that I'm in a problem now where in the future, when I want to apply for jobs, I don't know who can stand as my supervisor. The relationship was extremely spoiled. He can't go back to his PhD supervisor. So you don't want to ever be in that situation. You don't want to ever be in that situation. So at this point, I think we've come to a good point to conclude this meeting. And we want to just remind us just about our announcements as we round off now. We really have, the announcements are to just try and follow us on our LinkedIn. We share the link of the LinkedIn page. We also encourage you to join the group. If you think it's going to be beneficial to you, it's not compulsory, but these are the benefits we've explained. We are available to give you free light touch edits. If you need a third party sometimes to speak to about which challenges you're experiencing on your research, then we can find a way to also provide help if you can't find anybody to help you. And you can also participate in other benefits. And on that note, we want to really appreciate all our speakers. You've seen that they've shared a lot of their time. I mean, 2 hours in this kind of meeting. It's not that they're idle. They are very, very busy people, but we appreciate you so much for the time you spent today. We really appreciate it. And I want to also use this opportunity to plead with all our mentors today that in this our research group that we're creating, that you just help us, you volunteer also to be part of this research group to provide answers beyond this meeting. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. We are grateful. We're grateful to both our speakers and also to all the participants today. And we hope that next time we organize another event like this, you will come and also invite your friends as well. Thank you once again, and good night. Have a good day to every single one. We hope to see you next time. Thank you. Bye.